Good morning, everyone. Welcome inside the Faith Loop. It is January 21, 2025. Day 2,111,918 of the crisis of identity, and we're in it. Just had a big day yesterday here in the United States. Another president taking the oath of office. And watching everybody celebrate, watching everybody pat each other on the back. It's kind of what we do every 4 years in this country. And everybody stands around and talks about hope and feeling good and we think we have solved issues and problems when we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And it's not different every 4 years. It's the same 4 years. It's the same rhetoric, same thought process. But yet the issues within mankind itself persist. And we talk about the earth, we talk about the world, we talk about the problems of humanity. But yet, year after year, cycle after cycle, day after day. And that's basically what it is, day after day. Today, we wake up, the sun is shining. Even if the clouds are where you're at, the sun is still in the middle of the universe. Well, I shouldn't say universe. It's actually in the middle of our solar system. One of 100 billion to 250 billion stars within this particular Milky Way galaxy. So how many solar systems exist within our own galaxy? Right?
Yep, they don't know.
Science looks and sees, but how far away are just within this galaxy? Not to mention the 100 billion galaxies. I think that's a low number that they believe they've seen through the telescopes, the Hubble, and now the more advanced photography they've put out. And we sit around and we talk about how we're going to plant a flag on Mars and colonize. And yet we have all these people that talk about colonization as a bad thing. But in whose name are we doing this? There are many ideas. And this is what I want to talk about. So, does mankind need to be saved? And if so, if this is the case, how do you save mankind? Is there something wrong with mankind? And I'm being honest in that question. You know, when we look at this and we talk about these things, do we even recognize that there's something wrong? What's wrong? What is the problem?
Well, we don't usually think anything's wrong with us. We just think things are wrong with our systems, how we do things, what we do, what we don't do. But putting the blame back on ourselves is kind of a tough deal.
Right. I think this is a fascinating thought process, and I don't think we discuss this very much. I mean, we talk up and down all day long about the politics, about the social, about the economic issues and problems and this and that. And I think it's interesting. Now, myself personally, And I would imagine that a lot of people that are watching here this morning believe in Jehovah. That he is the creator, the Genesis narrative, all of that, and that Jesus was sent to the earth to save mankind. Okay. This is the basis, within that Christian structure.
Yep.
There are other cultures that believe that there have been beings to come and save mankind in various ways and in various situations. A messianic figure has been talked about in many different cultures. And this is what is interesting to a lot of people who say, well, it's just one of many, what do we believe, and is it just something made up? Is it something that is fodder for people who don't believe in themselves? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, these are the questions. These are the real questions.
Yeah.
We can sit and talk about, doctrinal this and that all day, whether you should be baptized or whether you should do this or do that, or, the liturgies, the sacraments. Do you take communion? Do you not? What is communion? How do you do communion? Marriage. What is marriage? Should you be married to more than one wife? Do you not have this? Do you? We can sit and bounce off walls talking about this nonsense.
Yep.
But we miss the point of everything, because in the end, why does mankind even ask the question? What are we trying to save the earth? Why? What's wrong with the earth? They're trying to prove to you that there is so many problems that the earth is not going to survive.
Yep.
Is it real? And then there's other scientists that say, no, that's not true.
Well, to show you the insanity of that, in California, as we all know, they had the devastating fires. Thousands of homes, buildings, businesses destroyed.
Right.
Well, other states stepped in to bring in firefighting equipment, right?
Right.
There were long lines of fire trucks lined up that had to be tested to make sure they met the emission standards of California before they would let them in.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
I did not hear that yet.
We've come to help you.
You're putting all these emissions into the air right now already, bro.
Your whole town's burning down, and you're worried about a fire truck coming in that doesn't meet California emission standards. I mean, I don't know. I just...
It's a marvel. It is something to marvel at. Oh. Was Newsom out there making sure?
I don't know. All the wallboard that's burning, the wood that's burning.
Oh, I know.
Stuff that they build, certain building materials, it isn't good when they burn. Because they put...
and it's as old as some of those structures are.
And they put stuff in the air. I mean, You got all this going on, all this pollution going on, and you're worried about a couple of fire trucks destroying the... instead of letting them in to go in and help put that pollution out. I don't know. I don't. I just constantly marvel at the wisdom of man. I'll put it that way. It's better than what
Oh.
Yes, sir.
See, and that's the question, isn't it? What do we say? So, what are we saving ourselves from? Are you trying to save them from the fire?
No.
See, that begs the question. We're talking about saving lives, saving people, saving the city and whatnot, but you have these trucks lined up waiting. So what are you trying to save people from? Is there a problem? Yeah, it's a big fire. People's lives are being destroyed.
Yeah, 24 people dead.
Yeah. So what are we saving them from? What? What is it? What are we saving what is salvation? Why do we need it? Is there a necessity for salvation? Because for salvation to be necessary, there must be a narrative that something is wrong with mankind. So, what is wrong with mankind? You ever ask yourself that question? Why do you, as a U.S.-born citizen, vote? Why? What do you think this person is going to do for you? And what do you think these people, have you ever met the President of the United States personally? Have you ever met and had a serious discussion with the person that you voted for to represent your voice within the halls of government? Do you know who they are as a person? Do they value the same things as you? Have you ever considered talking to that person, knowing that? What can you know from a news article or a soundbite or somebody hammering somebody? Well, they don't believe in abortion. Okay, fantastic. Who is that person? So a lot of people can say a lot of things, and there's a lot being said, but how well do you know the person? Who do you know? And why do you say that person represents you as an individual? See, because that's really what it means.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as this nation is concerned.
Well, you'd have to be just blind, deaf, and dumb to not understand. Especially, I've heard a lot of them through the years, been around here a while. I've heard many of them say things and do the direct opposite.
Sure.
To get elected.
Sure.
How many times this past election season, this past year, have you heard a tape played by some radio commentator or something like that, talk show host, of something that one of them said a few years ago, and then listen to what they're saying now?
Right.
It's totally opposite.
Right.
Why are they saying it? Well, they know that the people don't necessarily agree with that, so they're not going to say it. And they'll deny they said it.
Right.
Well, here's the tape. Well, I had just a bad day. I don't know why I said that,
Well, a person can change.
Yeah.
Well, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So what's the next thought process then?
I remember Hillary Clinton saying that Donald Trump would be a great president. She said that in the day. What happened?
Well, and these are the things I think are very interesting. Just, okay, if you take this microcosm within this structure, okay? And over the past, let's call it, I don't think it's been different. We'll just put it into perspective from when as I've paid attention to these things. And listening to men and women of office call each other names,
Yep.
say they should be put in prison, threats to the common good, threats to the form of government they say we are. Try to eliminate them within legal ramifications. Hide information. I think the Ukraine war is one of the largest money laundering scams I've ever seen in my life. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for war there. Not really. Why are we doing it? Multiplied billions of dollars have flowed through the hands of all of those people. Where is it? And for what? Just to blow people up? What's wrong with mankind?
Been 1 million Russian soldiers and 700,000 Ukrainians dead already.
Yeah.
That's what they estimate right now. For what? So I can own that field out there and grow potatoes in it, or what? Is that? You know.
What's wrong with us? We've talked about the crisis of identity for a long time. You know, just a simple search, you know, I'm looking at how do we save ourselves? You know, you talk about how do we save mankind? Most of it, people are talking about the planet. Well, how long has the planet been here?
Day or two.
So when people say they talk about saving the planet, that's not the point. Because the planet has survived. If you believe evolutionists, this planet has survived, I don't know how many, I guess, what would you call it?
Cataclysms?
Yeah, those, right? Although they said they don't exist. Meteors, you know, global killers. I remember when Armageddon came out, the movie Armageddon.
Yeah.
We're going to destroy the asteroid.
Yeah.
They didn't say the planet was going to go away. They said humankind was going to disappear from the face of the earth.
Right. Well, I was in a pretty big crater in Arizona. They got a meteor crater in northern Arizona. Yeah. It's huge. There's a pretty good sized rock hit there. Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, there's trees, there's animals, there's plants, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's kind of a desert area up there, but it's not the kind of desert like the Sahara, you know, where there's nothing. There's mesquite, there's bushes, there's stuff there, you know, and it's still there. There's cities all around it. Well, how come?
There's a video on here from Isaac Asimov, famous science fiction writer.
Yeah.
How can people save the earth for humans? See, what is that code for? That means we still die. You know what's interesting is all the sequoias, all the what are the big trees? The
redwood, sequoia.
The redwood, sequoia, all the trees in in California. I mean, even with the devastating forest fires they have and whatnot, those trees will be there long after we're dead.
Oh yeah.
So how do we? What do you mean save the earth for humans? We're going to be gone, and those trees are still going to be growing.
Most of them are 200 or 300 years old.
What are we talking about?
Good question, isn't it?
Well, you know, global warming is going to melt the ice caps. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Need a little global warming around here this morning, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's 5 degrees. 10 things you can do to help save the earth. There has been institutions of faith that have been long before our institutions of government, although kings and whatnot and people have prayed doing this and that. The one constant in the earth is that mankind perishes. We decay. We go back into the ground from which we came. Well, we didn't come from the ground. Well, I think it's funny. I've said this before. Here's a video from The Economist, How to Save Humankind, according to James Lovelock, The Economist. I don't know if any of you ever listened to Jeffrey Sachs. Jeffrey Sachs has been on the global foreign affairs scene for quite some time. He's an interesting man to listen to. He was recently on a podcast with Tucker Carlson. And I found it interesting listening to this economist. When we think of economy, all we think about is dollars. The market, this, that. The economy is going this, that. What's fascinating to me is listening to Jeffrey Sachs, the economist. He talks little about money. He talks about foreign affairs and policy more than anything. And how do you manage society? Monetization of a nation is just one small piece of what an economist does. An economist is there to help people understand how to manage society. How do you manage society? How do you manage people? How do you keep, how many people are in the, what is it, we got 365 million people as a population according to the census, you know. There may be more.
Could be.
I think so.
Somebody hid or something, you never know.
No, well, we've added a few since you know, coming across the border there.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? And what is the thought process? How do you manage and maintain a population of 365 million people? On the basis that they are at liberty to do as they please. That's what liberty means. That's what freedom means. How do you install then a constitution that forms what we call the rights of an individual to do within this nation certain things and abilities and opportunities? How do all these things mix together? What is freedom? If you truly had freedom, and a person, as the word says, has the meaning of the word says, is at liberty to do as they please, how can you say to somebody that they're wrong in stealing from someone or taking this or doing that? See, but now it's not just a law or an instruction or a constitution, a Bill of Rights. That's a law. Those are what we call instructions. But now, how do you enforce a moral code? What we call a moral conduct code. And then where does that come from? These are the things that people deal with on a scale of 365 million people that think differently, that are not common necessarily in mind. We're definitely, if you look around this nation, and I'm just using this nation because this is the one that I happen to be in, there is no commonality in thought.
Not much.
Tell me where it is. How do you manage that? So, why should you have to manage that if people are inherently good? Then why is this one go on a murdering spree?
Well, here's an example of that. This happened in Puerto Rico. A woman from St. Peter's went down there for vacation. She burned 3 businesses. She burned a hotel down and a couple other things, set fire to them, burned them down. They just arrested her. Why? Because they would not serve her alcohol.
Oh, really?
Burned this guy's hotel clear down. He's standing there. They're talking to him. He's crying. He said, I worked all my life for this. Got mad because they wouldn't serve her alcohol and burnt them down. Now she's facing 20 years if she's convicted. Mm-hmm. They have her on camera, on film. What's the matter with people? They won't serve you a drink, and so maybe they didn't want to because you had too many already.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So you get mad and you burn the place down. What's that make any sense in any society? Every day you see these things on the news that just it just flabbergasts me at times. I don't know. But it's what Brian was saying. Is there any consensus of opinion out there? How do you manage that?
Right. Exactly that.
Yeah, we don't manage it. The only thing we can do is punish her.
After the fact.
After the fact.
Yeah.
But manage it? To manage something means you're trying to stop anything from going wrong.
You're managing the situation and everybody moving in the direction that
Yes.
is common in good, right?
Yeah, if you've ever managed, I've managed restaurants and things. If you've ever done that, the job is to keep it all running smooth, to make it work right.
Yeah.
That's what the job is. And if you got somebody that is a disturber of of what you're trying to do, they disturb it, they don't do it, then you have to remove them.
So, if the issue then is the imperfection of man,
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
and I'm bringing this to bear right here because no matter which side, I don't care whether it's what we call secular or the institutions of faith, there is a belief that mankind is imperfect. Listen to them. Nobody's perfect. I don't care what person on what side of the aisle says it. I don't care if you're listening to a Bill Gates, an Elon Musk, or the Pope, Franklin Graham.
Yeah.
Everybody, we're none of us are perfect. We're just doing what we can. So on the one side, how do you overcome imperfection? And on this side, how do you overcome imperfection? Well, the one side says that there's a God that is going to save us out of this imperfection. How? So on this side, mankind is trying to save himself out of the imperfection. And I believe this very much. There is an issue, and everybody sees it. And the problem is the imperfection of mankind himself. And what does that mean? What does it mean to be imperfect? Why do we have the flaws? Well, we're all flawed. We're all this. We're all that. And nobody, excuse me, I'm sorry. And nobody seems to, we talk about it at a certain level, but solution-wise, whether you're looking at institutions, no matter, let's just call it no matter the institution within society, nobody seems to have an answer for this.
No, because what we're doing is we constantly try to excuse it. We make excuses for ourselves. That's why we say what we say. Well, nobody's perfect. It's an excuse not to try to be. And so we excuse ourselves so we don't have to feel like that we're responsible to anything. After all, everybody, we all do it. Well, that woman that burnt that stuff down in Puerto Rico, she could say, well, everybody does that.
I haven't burnt down any buildings lately.
No, but I mean, everybody gets...
That's what I'm saying. Everybody, we're all messed up.
Yeah, everybody gets mad, But of course, when it's real serious like that, then we don't excuse it.
Right.
But we excuse most of the stuff in our lives, And so that gives us the right not to try to strive and be better than that.
We are in a place in this country where, in the world, where salvation is a common thought process. There are many people that don't believe we need to be and I'm kind of searching for something right here. I really am, in how to put this. And I'm just going to stop and I want to, because I believe no matter, I've read a lot about creation stories and what other people have said about creation itself, what people have said about evolution. And because there's really only two forms of mankind's origin. There is some form of creation, and then there is the evolutionary thought process. And if you think evolutionary thought process started with Charles Darwin, you're simply wrong. You can read in Cicero's writings how he spoke about the Epicureans, which were a group of people. They had their philosophies. Epicureans were pleasure-based, and they believed that mankind started through an evolutionary process, that they just appeared. They have their thought process to it. That's ancient Rome. You have the Greeks on the other side but they would worship God. So the Epicureans, what did they worship? Did they worship the gods? Was it a falsification of it? What are we talking about?
Well, there was a man in Darwin's time and before him who wrote many books and stuff. Darwin read his books. I forget the guy's name now. I'm sorry.
He was friends with Robert Lyell.
Yeah, and he wrote all these books on the creation,
Unitarianism.
Yeah, and all how it happened, the evolution. And Darwin just read it.
There was a lot that started from that Scottish farmer.
Yeah.
That, would just sit and watch the rocks.
Right.
I forget his name, but yeah. Robert Lyell was the guy you're talking about.
No, this was another name. I can't. Anyway, there were several of them, though. There was.
Well, that was the guy that I know, but he was big before Darwin, and it was his emphasis on the process of evolution over time.
Yeah.
And all those things, the Unitarianism of all things, and that's where a lot of this process. But the Epicureanism, that predates everybody up here. that
Oh,
far
absolutely.
back.
Absolutely.
That's what it's about. So you have all these different thought processes here. There's something I think is fascinating, and I believe this is one of the reasons why Christianity is sold, was they were able to sell believers in Jesus this bill of goods, because when you look at the word salvation, in Hebrew, it is the word Yeshua. This is Joshua in English. Comes from the primitive root yeshah, properly to be open, wide or free. That is, by implication, to be safe. And I don't think the implication is safety. I think that is the, I think it's explicit, not implicit, but explicit, to be safe. At all, avenging, defend, deliver, help, preserve, rescue, be safe, bring. All these words, there is at all, avenging, defend, deliver, help, preserve, rescue, be safe, bring salvation, save, get victory. Those are all the ways that the Bible has translated this one word. All of those forms of English words they've used to translate the word Yeshua. Or Yashah. Here, Yeshua is occurs 78 times in the KJV total, or in the I think that may be in the Tanakh. You have 158 verses total with 164 matches found. Deliverance, health, help, salvation, save, saving, welfare. Yeshua is translated in all these forms. Prosperity, victory, aid. Why does man see? It says something saved. That's the basic definition of this word. Why is salvation such a big topic within the culture of mankind? Why? I think that is a fair thought process to think about why. Yep. And I know people say, well, Jesus came to say, yeah, but why? Do you ever ask why Jesus was sent into the world? You yourself ask why. Read the biblical narrative asking why. Why did Jesus have to come? I know what the Christian narrative says. The Christian narrative says that Jesus was sent by his Father to be brutally sacrificed because you are a failure. That's the Christian narrative. Is that what the Bible says? Why does mankind have to save the planet? It hasn't gone anywhere. What are we talking about? Do we really understand anything about what's going on in the world? And I think that has to be the question we ask. How did Yeshua deliver, save mankind? And I think it's something we all have to answer for, not ourselves to make up our own narrative, but to look at the biblical narrative, to look at the world around us, to understand. It has taken me, and I've read all kinds of creation stories. I've read them, not because I'm looking for something to believe, but I'm looking at why has man said these things? Why did these cultures think this way? What has possessed the minds of men so much that we write that this is what we think? Mm-hmm. What possesses the minds of men so much today that we believe we're destroying this planet? Or making it inhabitable for mankind? Or so are we trying to save the planet, or are we actually trying to save mankind? Well, I think it's the latter, personally.
Yep.
If there are some of those plebes that are sacrificed on the altar of this salvation, then that's okay.
Yeah.
We have a strange dynamic in the world. And there's a lot of, dare I say, misinformation. Read the biblical narrative for not in a manner that says, what does Christianity say? But what did Jehovah have to say? Those first 5 accounts, narratives that are called the instruction or the Torah are what Jehovah had to say. And if we can understand that, then the rest of everything makes perfect sense. And until we come to that, we're still going to be lost in this idea of how do we save mankind.
Yep.
So I hope this makes you think about these things. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. There's a lot happening in the world around us, and I believe it's absolutely imperative that we come to the knowledge of the truth, that we seek after the truest of salvation. Yeshua is salvation. Didn't bring it. His whole being, he himself, who he is salvation. Because if you can emulate that, you too will be saved out of death. That's the story of Jesus. I understand what we talk about with the cross and all those things and his resurrection and everything, and those are important parts of the narrative. But they're not the narrative. The narrative is Yeshua himself. All the things that went on around that were the consequences of him coming into the earth and the consequences of man either accepting or rejecting who he is as a person, as Absolutely. A being. And that's what we're facing. Accept or reject Jesus as salvation. in his form, in the image and likeness of Jehovah. And we have to face the consequences from then. That's as simple as it gets. So we'll leave you with that. Again, please, comments, questions, we'd love to hear from you. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Till tomorrow, Dad will be back with Pam. They'll be talking about the fundamental instructions of balance. Have a great day in the Lord. Always remember to give love
And give life.
and give Jesus.